Friends, countrymen, non-countrymen, lend me your ears. Welcome to the Man Alone solo role-playing immersive interactive experience. My name is Man Alone, and today we are going into the odd. Now, I know that this is definitely not the first time that I have played Into the Odd on the channel. Well, I know it's not the first time I've featured it on the channel. What I'm not certain about is how much of a playthrough we've done. We're going to do a little bit of Witan. Let's do Alchemy. This is perfect because you know what? This album will go perfectly with Into the Odd because the opening picture, and this is the graphic design and layout of this book is by Johan Noor of Morkborg. This picture, they were made to be together, don't you think? Let me read the opening here. An odd world. The world is too large for explorers to map and too old for academics to record. Expeditions return with tales of places bizarre, wondrous, and horrific. You are an explorer, braving the unknown in search of riches, knowledge, and power. Most of all, you seek arcana, strange devices holding unnatural powers. They range from a humble piece of jewelry to vast sculptures. There are many religious and scientific theories around their existence, but most settle somewhere in between. Citizens flock to Bastion. Its vast industries provide dangerous but dependable work, and its docks send guns, chemicals, and newspapers to distant neighbors. Beneath the city, the underground stretches just as far. Sewers twist into tunnels, hiding ancient caves and forgotten vaults. Fallen cities are adorned with statues of star beings. Cultists manifest their fervor into reality, and belligerent unions prepare for a cosmic invasion. Familiar landscapes are overrun by strange weeds. Corrosive mists creep in from the sea, and jet-black mountains watch from the horizons. This odd world has been affected by beings stranger than we can imagine. This is by Chris McDowell. You might have also heard of Into Electric Bastion Land. These both take place in Bastion, and Electric Bastion Land is. I do have the PDF of that. Let me bring that up. Very similar rule set. It's definitely focused really strongly on the characters of Electric Bastion Land. And so because the rule sets and everything are very similar, this is a good tool to keep around. My goodness, I didn't realize that this is 336 pages. My God. Well, I usually do keep a rules summary around for Electric Bastion Land while I'm playing Into the Odd, because Into the Odd is a perfect size, but perfectly just a little small sometimes, and so have to fill in the blanks, and Electric Bastion Land does that. And you can even see deeper into the odd. It is definitely a fast role-playing games. And right here, yeah, these are like all the different characters and people who inhabit it. So that is very much a focus of the game. In that game, you are also like a sort of treasure hunter, but the motivation for it is a little bit different than it is for Into the Odd, which I think you're more of a pure treasure hunter, although I suppose you could be in debt. And so what I love about Into the Odd is that I can go over how to play this in like 5 minutes. In fact, I kind of want to challenge myself to do that. What time is on the clock? Okay. So Into the Odd has 3 ability scores: strength, dexterity, willpower. We roll a 3d6 for each of them. 10 is about the average. Fighting, fortitude, toughness, grace is strength. Grace, athletics, and reflexes is dexterity. Confidence, discipline, and charisma is willpower. You roll a d6 for your hit points. If your hit points go below 0, you start taking away from your strength. If your strength goes low enough, you can get wounded or died. Based on your stats and your HP, you then use like XY axis to see your starting package. And then you want to roll under your ability score. So say that I had a boulder smashed into me and it did some damage. It did 3 damage. And then my ability score is 13 for strength. And I try to get this thing off of me. I would try to roll 13 or lower, and I've rolled 10, so I'm able to push the boulder off. 1 is always a success. 20 is always a failure. Characters move and perform an action during combat. Blast damage is damage to all targets, and it's rolled individually. When characters have no HP left, they are wounded, and then it goes from their strength, and then they have to pass a strength save to avoid critical damage. So you're actually like the strength save. The reduced strength is going to reduce your strength checks, which I actually really like. There is this Arcanum. There are 3 levels of it. Usually the basic Arcanum is stuff that is powerful, but you could probably get a grip on it. I like the division that it does. Arcana is powers you cannot understand. And Greater Arcana is powers you could barely control. And Legendary Arcanas are powers you shouldn't control. And so you're looking for this stuff. You're a treasure hunter, but just know that if you find it, sometimes they ask for something in return, and sometimes you're just not powerful enough. You level up with XP. You do a roll over for your abilities, and you can increase them by 1 as well as increase your HP by D6. And I think that's kind of like the basic outline of it. I do a couple homebrew type things here. So this is after expedition will increase experience and reputation. Enterprise and war, we'll only talk about that if we like start a business. This is some refereeing feedback. And the real treasure of Into the Odd for those that want to solo play, number 1 is there are lots and lots of little crawls back here to do treasure hunting with hex crawls that you can have random encounters. And then the Odd Pendium, has all of these amazing tables that you could summon almost anything. Alternative starting packages. gm-lazarus.itch.io has these great character sheets. I usually print out 2 of them because in solo play, I usually have me and a sidekick. Now, if you've watched the channel before, you know that all of my characters arbitrarily are assigned the name Jorma. So we'll have 1 Jorma, and then we'll figure out who the other person is. So that's 1 homebrew. Is that it usually says to, if you're playing with a small group, like you want to roll up a companion with 1 HP. I just roll up a full second companion. But I use the simple folk model. So usually when you roll up a new character, you roll up 3d6 and all their stat lines and d6 for HP. Simple folk get d12 plus 6 for strength and dex and 2d6 for willpower, and they get different starting packages. So we'll do that for the companion and find out a little bit about them. The other thing I do is, and I know that this was in earlier editions, but not in this one, I roll up some money, just a little bit of shillings. I'll do a d10 to see how many we start with. 100 pennies make a shilling, 100 shillings make a guilder. And so we'll just start with a little bit of money for solo play. Additionally, I will usually get an average of all of my stats in order to do some checks that Free League games and Into the Odd do not do, specifically perception and intelligence checks. Their model on those, I get it, where it comes from. I just don't enjoy it as much in solo play. And basically their model, for instance, for perception would be like People don't roll perception checks. If something is there, then the players see it. Well, that works well for group play, or at least it's a way for it to work. For solo play, I don't like that. So I roll up the stats, average them out, and then I use like the average of those as my skill for anything that doesn't quite fit. Okay. Some tools that I have. I'm going to try the Troika Initiative card system. Boons and Banes I'm yet to use in play. We'll see if I can incorporate those somehow. I have my new cause of death stamp. If I die, I can give myself a nice cause of death. Some delve cards. I don't think we'll need these, but I can generate like a dungeon if I need to on the fly. I have my rune cards here using Norse runes to generate some ideas. There's also a tool. I have some dice here: weather dice, direction dice, attribute dice, fate mill. I have null dice if I need them. So plenty of tools here. This is Alone in the Odd. It's just 2 pages. It's by Matthew Morris, but it's a really good solo supplement in 2 pages. I definitely use the Spark tables. Pressure point, I have to see if I want to use that this time. So pressure point is a yes/no oracle, but it has this pressure point factor, which is, I guess, a more simplified version. I don't want to call it a version. It's in Mythic, there's like the chaos factor. Pressure point functions in a bit of the same way, is that it starts at 10, and that's the X. And if your pressure or the plot thickens, if things are getting intense, you lower the pressure. If it keeps getting more intense at the beginning of each session, the pressure point should drop again, but it shouldn't be adjusted for more than twice a session. It will always equal 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12. And so when you ask yes or no questions, the way that you determine it is if it's like 6 plus less than X. And I like this in theory. The only problem about it is that when I'm using, for instance, the Fate Mill, I feel pretty free in asking questions in whatever way I would like. Do aliens exist? Maybe. Okay. Do aliens not exist? Yes. So with this, I have to form it so that a roll under X would be a positive or yes outcome. This is something that I see pretty often, is like you want to form the question so that the positive outcome, etc. I even attempted to do this in my year 0 Oracle engine. The difficulty with that sometimes is that, first of all, the phrasing of that, like the syntax, can get a little tricky, especially as you get a little bit more cognitively burned out. Also, yes is not always like positive, and so that can screw with your head a little bit too. If you're like, hey, am I surrounded on all sides? Well, I don't really want that to be yes, unless it's a surprise birthday party. But we'll use the Spark tables. I print out a few pages of the Electric Bastion land rules, just because, like I said, these can do a pretty good job of filling in some gaps for Into the Odd. And that is, there's a free version of the PDF that's available if you don't want to take the dive and get the whole thing. And of course, we're going to try to use some Vox Profunda, available on Drive-Thru RPG by yours truly. And this isn't the whole thing here. We can look up the PDF, but also, I mean, I wrote it, so I can also just work through it in my head. But I basically printed out some of the tools we could use from this, like the general archetypes that we can roll up from card draws, the keys, which is for quick decisions. And then I wanted to try to do a so the 4th oracle as part of Vox Profunda, and this is, I've only printed like 5 pages. The full one's 105 pages. The 4th main oracle is the Visitors, and the Visitors involves when you roll a face card, an ace, or a joker, you are guided through active imagination. And I include instructions on active imagination in drawing upon sort of the scholarship wisdom of Jung. And it's a simplified version of it. It's not the be-all, end-all, but my hope is to increase curiosity about it. And for me, well, in the oracle, we would summon this fictional figure listed here, or I give alternatives in the document, or if there's one that fits the archetype that's not listed, you really want somebody that like has a meaning to you. And that could be a fictional mythological figure. It could be somebody who is more recent. It could be a superhero. If you're into comics, it can be the the Green Ranger from Power Rangers. Whoever has like a meaningful place for you and then fits the archetype. I'll try to use the ones here. And really, this is something once a session. Now, I did try to do an example of active imagination on camera because I actually have gotten lots of questions like, hey, I want to see more of like what active imagination looks like. And I would really like to show you that. But the problem is, it's not that it's a private experience. Like, there's nothing I'm ashamed of or anything for it. It's just it is a personal experience. So in fact, I did try recording last night like a little bit of active imagination. And as I was going through it, I was like, oh, this is great. I'm like really explaining it well. And then as I played the video back, I didn't realize this, but there were just like long gaps of silence. And then there were occasionally moments where I would go, oh, okay, okay, right. So I will engage with this, and then I'll talk about the first steps of it, and then I'll spend some time doing the active imagination, and then I'll come back and I'll talk about the process and how it looked. And I think this would actually be a good place to start. Now, at its core, Into the Odd is a treasure hunting game, right? So it's all about finding this, but there's always something more, okay? And so what I would like to look for is a sort of overarching theme. And now the trick here, well, the tricky part here is I can draw a card on just the general archetype table of Vox Profunda, and that can give us an idea of some of the themes at play. And then I can say, well, I'll combine that with active imagination, but one of the things about active imagination and the invocation of these fictional figures is you're really on, even though it is you, if you fully commit to it, you're swimming in the subconscious, right? And so you're only partially able. It's just like anybody, if I came to you right now and I really wanted to talk about something, most of you are probably amenable enough that you would engage me in a conversation about that, but maybe not. Maybe you'd want to talk about something else. Maybe you don't want to talk about what I want to talk about, whatever. And so when you really commit to it and say, hey, this is, what I'm looking to ask about, this is what I'm interested in, it could go that way or not, but either way, it's valuable. So I'll start with that to help form the question. And I tried shuffling these cards a lot of times, and I ended up playing a lot of 52 pickup. I don't want to do the big wash because they're also really hard to get like back in place here. I don't even know how much I'm. All right, well, I don't want to pause. All right, so we'll just say this guy who didn't get picked up. Who's this guy? 4 of clubs. All right, so this is the performer expression. All right, so performer expression. Okay. All right, so I'm trying. What I'm trying to do right now is, and this is not the visitors yet. I'm just trying to think about like what is it something when I immediately look at that, I think of like an actor, like a stage actor. But is there another way to think about this? Is there a way that we can think about this in terms of like one who performs, one who expresses? Expression can mean more than just like pronunciations, right? Expression can mean like to express something. I mean, you can express like I mean, it's kind of gross, but like a wound can be expressed, right? Expression, performer. Let's look for something. Let's look for another one here. I'm turning my head. 8 of clubs. The warrior, the performer, the expression, the warrior. Okay. All right, I'm going to take that as input. Right now, I'm feeling that this probably is what my the two characters are. So I think that I am a warrior, and maybe my other person who is my companion might be more of a performer. That could be a mummer, a bard. We'll see. Now, what I'm going to do here with this deck is, because the visitors are face cards, aces, and jokers, on the bottom of the deck here is a 9. I'll go through these until I get to my first card here, and then whatever that is, we'll use that as the invocation. All right. All right. Well, number 2. All right. So ace of clubs is Hephaestus. Looks like I rolled over some of these cards on a chair. All right, Hephaestus. Fine. That's good. I've never actually had a active imagination where I've used Hephaestus. So if you're not familiar with Hephaestus, Hephaestus is the Greek god of like the forge, blacksmithing. In Roman mythology is known as Vulcan, where the vulcanization process comes from. So hammering away in the forge, lots of sparks, lots of magma. And Hephaestus is known as somebody who, well, he's married to Aphrodite. And Aphrodite felt really, I think Zeus had them marry each other because Zeus was like, hey, Aphrodite, you just rose up from sea foam. You're the goddess of love. We need to marry you off or whatever. And I have just the guy. My son here is a great guy. And Hephaestus is known as not very good looking. He's a bit rough. That's how it's done. And Hephaestus, she was, I wouldn't say horrified, but probably disappointed at that marriage. But over time, she does grow fond of him because he makes her lots of nice gifts, and he's strong, and he shows a lot of qualities that perhaps his brother Ares doesn't show, but that's actually a good thing. So I am going to, I'll usually do that. I'll usually like talk a little bit about what I know. And here's the cool thing. You don't have to be right. I mean, you should have a good sense in your mind. You should feel at least right. You should feel confident, but you don't really have to be right. It just has to have a clear picture of who this person is for you. All right. So now what I'm going to do next, I'm going to just relax. And I set this up in this way. This is just my technique. And again, I came to active imagination because mindfulness just did not work for me. It just didn't work. I was never able to do it. I have too much of an engine. And so I wanted a way to connect with my subconscious without deifying it. That's a criticism of Jung that I find preposterous. It's just an encounter with myself and knowing and bringing out the wholeness of myself. And so Hephaestus is a part of myself. That represents something. I don't really know what it is yet. I do know it's there. I don't know what it is. And what I do is, the first thing is I draw a circle in my mind and I say, when I'm ready, I will step into this circle. And in this circle, I am going to fully commit to this experience. I'm not going to go into this circle, but then keep thinking about a conversation I have to have with my boss. I'm not going to go into this circle and start thinking about how, boy, I wish it's a little, my shoes aren't very comfortable. I'm not going to go into this circle and keep a foot outside of it to say, well, I'm going to go in this circle, but I really hope that this video does well. You know, I hope that people really like this. I'm not anywhere but in that circle. So until I'm ready to go in that circle, I'm outside of it. Then when I step into it, I step all the way into it. And this is a full commitment to this. This means that we leave aside some things like the biggest thing is the false audience, the self-consciousness of, oh, what would people think of me if they saw me just talking to a Greek god, right? Like in my head, they're not here. Nobody else is here, all right? You have to commit to this and have this conversation and apply maximum effort of concentration. This is what you're doing now. Make no mistake. You're not doing anything else, all right? And so try to relax a little bit. I am going to just pause for a second, and then I'll come back and I'll talk about the experience. All right, so just a little I'm in media res here, but just want to say that one of the first things, he's hammering on the forge, and he asks, why can't I be on camera? Am I ugly? Do you not want to share me with everybody else? This was a little jibe. It wasn't serious. He understands. He's wise. But he says he wants to show up, and so says to use something that is vivid to display me and go through it, and you will know exactly when you have found the thing I want you to talk about. And so these are quite vivid. We'll use the Boons and Banes deck here. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through these. And as soon as I see the correct one, and I don't know what the correct one is, but there'll be something there. It'll be an immediate recognition. I'll just stop, and that will be the subject of what I'm going to be thinking about. Here I go. Let me go through it quite quickly here so that I'm not being too mind certain. No. Trying to be unconscious. I'm trying to be unconscious. Look at it. Yep. Okay. All right, be right back. I'll leave that here. Okay, so Hephaestus is having a little bit of fun with me. Said he's an ancient god and he requires an offering. And I said, so what do you want me to do? Burn some meat fat for you? No, the offering he requires is you have to tell everybody why you stopped on that card. And I said it was random, and he called my bluff, and he was correct. It is not random. I mean, it is random in that it was not, I didn't know this would be the card beforehand, but it was not random in that there definitely was something that compelled me to this. And what compelled me to this is that this is, this is certainly a sacrifice. All right. Immediately when I saw this card, I thought of a conversation I had with my dad the other day. There's a slight conflict that we have right now. It's not a big thing. It's not like a great schism or anything. There's just a disagreement about something, about what's fair, what's not fair. And my dad was a stern man, very fair, very loving, but he was a military guy. Whatever he said, it went. My father is over 75 now. And we had a disagreement, and he used a tone of voice that he used to use when I was younger that would sort of say, like, you're going to do this. You're not going out tonight. You're not doing this. That's it. End of story, period. And it would invoke this sort of like anger. And it would scare me when I was a kid. You know, my father was imperious, and I'm very good friends with my dad now, but he got kind of frustrated with me, and that voice came out. And I almost laughed. And I didn't laugh. I didn't want to laugh. I didn't want to shame him, but I was almost like, really? Like, are you using that voice? Like, as if I'm 15. And then he showed an aspect to me of himself that I had not seen before, which is he came back over towards me after a minute and sat down and had a softness about him, a vulnerability. It was almost like I realized that, you know, I can't get you to do what I want that way anymore, but maybe I can get you to see it my way if I have a little bit of a softer touch and an understanding. And he said, I know it's difficult. I know it's not what you wanted. Now, that still did not convince me, not because I am a stubborn. I mean, I guess maybe, but because it has nothing to do with like if he's nice or not. It has to do with what's right, And so, but one thing I did think about, and the energy of that conversation came through with this card, is it's a bit frustrating to think about the open conflict that me and my dad had when I was an adolescent, and how that simmered into a Cold War until I was like 28, and how much of that could have been avoided if my dad just tried to do the second way he talked to me first for all those years, instead of like coming off in that really strong way. And so, well, I guess we'll do more of active imagination here than we thought. So what Hephaestus has told me is that the plot of our adventure in Into the Odd is going to have to do with the father wound. And this is extremely provocational, because there is a video that I've probably thought to make about 50 times on this channel, but I always sort of balk at it. And that is a video that involves the father wound. And so, also on a personal note, I think he's saying, isn't it time that you made that video? So yes, I will work on that video and I will make that video. But that is not the video right now. So there's going to be something about the father wound that is discussed. And we have some characters. We have the warrior, courage, and the performer. Okay. And so let's roll up Jorma here. So this is what's great. Here's the Into the Odd characters roll up. So just roll 3d6, 5, 1, 6, 3, 9. 6, 6, 12. Nice. 6, 5, 11, 16 willpower. And then again, I take an average of these for sort of that like squishy skill stat. So 9, 12, 21. 21 plus 10, 31 plus 6, 37. 37 divided by 3, 12.33. So we'll go 12 is my stat. All right, and then my HP is 1d6. I'll take anything but a 1 here. Yep, of course. I always get a 1, not for my main character. I can't believe it. 4. All right, so we'll do a 4 out of 4. And then while we're at it, let's roll up our next friend. And our next friend is, let's just get a name here. The names in here are quite funny. Bastion's Cast of Thousands, and there truly are thousands. So we'll do a D100 on this name table. And we are going to be adventuring with 24. Grobin. Grobin what? What's the surname? 70. Grobin Parfait. I love that. All right. So we'll say Grobin. Grobin Parfait. That is definitely the performer. And now Grobin Parfait is going to get a slightly different... is he a simple folk? Mutants. I don't know if he's a mutant. Unhumans. Yeah, we'll roll him up as a simple folk. He's just got a lot of talent. So D12 plus 6. Do I have a D12 anywhere? There we go. 7 plus 6, 13 strength. Wow. 18 dex. And then a 2d6 for will. Hold on. 13 strength. 18 dex. I see what's happening. All right. Then for will, 6. Okay. So this, Grobin is the warrior. I am the performer. I don't want to be the performer, and that is why I will be the performer. And then for HP, Groban Parfait is going to get a 5. All right, so now we'll find out a little bit more, but what you do now is you look at, for the simple folk, we're going to look up at the strength, and strength is 13, and then we look at the HP, which is 5. So the ones over here, like if you have low HP, low stats, there's a better starting loadout. That's what kind of balances here. And so if we're going a strength of, how do I forget this stat fast? 13 and 5, we have a spike D6. There is a disadvantage of mute and 1 trinket. And we'll roll a D100 for the trinket. 64. A lucky frog. It's my lucky frog. All right, lucky frog. And then disadvantage is mute. We'll think that's not good. I mean, part of why I have a companion is to have conversation. So we'll say selective mutism. There's certain situations where Groban is mute. Maybe I'm the only one he talks to. All right, and then for a weapon, it just has a big spike. It's pretty cool. D6. And also, in addition to a dagger, a torch, and some clothes. Some quaint clothes. Maybe he's not a simple folk. Maybe he's like a method act. No, he's not an actor. Damn it. See what I do? I try to switch it back because I'm the warrior. I'm not going to be an actor. All right. Now, how much does he have any coinage? 4. 4 shillings. All right. So now Jorma, how much money does Jorma have? 2. Oh, what's Groban? 13 plus 18 is 21. No, wait. 31 plus 6, 37 divided by 3 is, 12. So we'll say 12 for the Omni stat as well. How does that work out? Oh, because the will is 6. Yeah, that's what brings the average down. All right, so now Jormand, the Gourmand, is going to have... I'm just seeing what a spike is, if it's on here. Crude. It seems like a crude weapon. I mean, could be like a railroad spike, I guess. All right. So Jorma is going to have the highest stat is 16 and the HP is 4. And so we go 4 HP, 16, a bow, a knife, a rocket, and fire oil. Nice. But a bow is bulky. So I'm going to put that in my backpack for now because it pretty much is the same as a dagger. I mean, there's probably like a little bit of different flavor. But here's the thing. Bulky items take up 2 hands. And when you're using them, and if you have 3 or more bulky items, your HP goes to 0, meaning you don't do that. You have to drop 1. So we'll do a dagger, or sorry, that's a knife, D6. And a rocket, which I do think is like a consumable that's really powerful. Fire oil for sure is, because that is a... fire oil is like an area attack. So that's going to tell us something about Jorma. Has fire oil. I think that's like a D20 area attack, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm overdoing it a little bit. Fire oil. Sets an area alight. All inside take D6 damage each round. So that can hurt other people too. And then a rocket is D10 and a colorful explosion. All right, D10 plus colorful. D6 area each round. Okay. No advantages or disadvantages. We can find out maybe using the odd pendium if we can find out any information, but maybe let's talk about the spark table. And keep in mind, we're using the father wound, but let's not be nervous about it. Okay, like let's just see how it comes out. Let's just see. It's there. It's there. We don't need to force anything. We don't need to say, "Oh, I got to make this work." You do. You don't necessarily have to do it right now, but let's just see how this works here. All right, so we'll do a D20 spark tabla. Oh, I love my two-tone D20s, but I don't think you can see them really well on the table. Let me see how they look on a camera. Yeah, they're kind of hard to see. That's okay. We'll use the Shadow Dark D20s are really nice and easy to see. All right. Where'd the other one go? Don't I have two? Oh, here it is. All right, so let's do a spark to see what's going on here. Get a little bit of information. 13 and 13. All right. Persecute instance. Okay, an instance of persecution is Groban or myself the subject of this persecution? Yes. Okay. So we are both. Maybe both of us. Sorry, that was probably very loud. Maybe both of us are subject to this persecution. Maybe we're being confused as. Oh, okay. I got it. All right. Here's how we'll do this. The reason why our stats are the way that they are. Jorma is a warrior. Groban is an actor. Now, it is well established that Groban's stats make him probably much more of a warrior, but he's an actor. And the reason he is an actor is because he wanted to rebel against his father, who was a great warrior. And so he did the thing that he thought was the furthest thing from being a warrior, which is being an actor. But the only thing that he can do is get roles as a big warrior, which is very frustrating that he keeps getting typecast in this way because he's trying to be different. Now, Jorma is a warrior, but because Jorma's dad did a lot of shaming about who he was, Jorma does not want to be a warrior. He's not particularly good at being a warrior. And he's not bad. He's got a lot of willpower, but he'd much rather, avoid conflict, resolve things other ways. He's not afraid to get in a scrap, but he doesn't want to kill people. And so he feels like he's a fake. So he's a warrior who feels like an actor, and Groban's an actor who feels cursed to be a warrior. And both of them are assuming these roles because of their specific father wounds. Groban has just left the set of a play or whatever that he was doing. And Jorma, Groban gets in a fight. Doesn't mean to get in a fight, but somebody is making fun of him. And Jorma is nearby. And so, for all intents and purposes, people see Groban dressed up as a warrior. And Jorma, this is the part that is a stretch. Jorma is already in trouble. He's already in Bastion. He is not to associate with any barbarous or savage individuals. And the officials come by, they see Jorma, they see Groban, two barbarian warriors, even though really we already said. And they said, that's it. You're coming with us. And that's where we'll begin. So we'll have two, I don't know what the officers would be called into the odd. I think there's like a profession. Oh, I like this. They're a watchman. The two watchmen. They say, didn't we tell you no associating with the savages? There's an anathema against savagery. They said this town is trying to clean up its act. Savages like you two. And both of us are like, no, you got us wrong. This is not, no. The other guys who Groban was about to get into a scrap with, Jorma was trying to talk him down. That's what Jorma was doing. And yet we have this confusion. And so we'll just do Theater of the Mind for combat. And both of them realize, they say, we can't go back to Bastion Penitentiary. We can't do it. All right. And so we'll just do some quick combat here. Now, an attacker rolls a die dictated by their weapon and subtracts the opponent's armor. Now, neither Jorma nor Groban have an armor score. But Groban is mute. That's what they were making fun of him for. So I say to Groban, tell them I don't know you. And all of a sudden Groban's like, can't talk. I said, come on, what's wrong? Tell them I don't know you. Tell them I'm not with you. Silence. And all that the police or the watchman here is the lucky frog. All right. So, turns. Generally, the players take their turn before any enemies. If there's a risk of being surprised, characters must each roll a dex save. We don't have to do that. On their turn, we perform and move an action. Attacks are detailed on the next page, and for risky actions. All right, the way that we'll do this is we'll do sort of a summary of distance. So I'm just going to get something really quick that'll help us. All right, so this is the Odd Generator by Søren Noor Ryborg. And we'll just roll this. We could probably just roll this once for this encounter. And like, we don't necessarily have to take the description of them. We could just take this stat block. All right. Now, this is going to be a little bit difficult for some people to handle. All right. But it does work quite well. Here's something to understand about Into the Odd. There's no roll to attack. Whatever the damage of your weapon is, you roll that and you subtract it from the other person's HP. Okay? And minus their armor. And in this case, neither of us have armor. Strength, dex, willpower, those are things that we can do if we decide to try other maneuvers. For example, in combat, if I try to trip somebody, if I try to throw something at somebody. But the basic combat is usually over very quickly. Okay? And if it starts going bad, we're going to try to run away pretty fast as well. All right? Because one good hit could put me in the position of being wounded. Then it starts to take like away from my strength. Okay. And if its damage is removed from a strength score, then they have to pass a strength save to avoid critical damage. If you have critical damage, you can't do anything until you have at least a short rest. And if you go an hour without a short rest, you die. Okay, so we could do this completely theater of the mind here. And I'm just going to take, just in case, we have strength 13, dex is 6, willpower is 13, and each of their HP is 5. So not a super easy confrontation because they both have swords, and that means they're going to swing for d6. Luckily, we will go first because there's, sure, they are soldiers or whatever, or police officers, but they don't necessarily have the drop on us or anything like that. And so if we look at both, Groban has a spike and a dagger, d6. I have a knife, a d6. And I am going to go first. So I just roll a d6 here. And nobody has any armor. Just keep that in mind. A 6. So right away, and I'm going to take the butt of my dagger. In fact, I will do a dex here, and this is not going to matter. I'm going to do a dex save. This is not going to matter like in terms of the outcome of the combat. I'm going to do 6 damage here. I'm going to take this guy out. But I think that Jorma does not want to kill this guy. So I'm going to do a dex save to see if I have the ability to move fast enough to incapacitate him. My dex is 12, and I got a 17. So I actually I can't even believe it, but the guy started running at me, and I stabbed him. Oh my gosh, what have I done? I stabbed him, right? And so now it would be Groban's turn. And Groban also has a dagger. But really quick, let me just check something here. Yeah. So as I thought, if you clear half of their retinue or whatever, then they have to do a will save, or else their morale is broken and they're going to run. All right. So their willpower is 13. So the guy that's remaining is like, oh my gosh, my partner just got stabbed. Right. And so he has to roll 13 or under. And he does. He rolls a 12. Okay. So this is starting to shore up here. I just killed somebody. And not just anybody, right? A watchman. And that means that regardless of whatever happened before, whatever the mistake was, whatever, we are now together. We are on the run, and we need to go now. We need to get out of here right now, okay? And from the outside, people are just like, it's two warriors. These two barbarous warriors have come and they have killed one of our cities. The city is releasing this statement. They're saying they're killing these defenders of the bastion. All right. And so let's see what happens from there. So, is there a link to the underground here? The underground might be a good way to escape into. Let's do a D100 check. $20. Yes, but it leads straight into an acid pool. So maybe I see a sewer. I say, come on, this way, this way. And we lower, and just as we're about to drop, we have to do a dex check. So we could do that for both of us. So 12 for me and 18 for Groban. So Groban avoids it. Come on. Ugh, I do not. So I get hit well, we'll find out. 4. Okay, so I'm badly injured. I'm at 0 HP. So that means that the next time that I have any HP taken from me, it's going to come away from my strength, and I need to do a strength save. I'm now wounded. And so this guy, even though he's so mad, he sees I go, the acid, it burns my foot. What the hell? Why is there an acid pool down here? This is supposed to be a sewer system. Isn't it just supposed to be crap? And we see at the end, somebody says, hurry, hurry, come on, come on. And it is people from the underground who welcome us in. Now, what happens? Well, who are these people? Let's find out. Is there like a faction? There's astral cults. I could do that. Could be mutants. Mutants, maybe. All right. So the person that says, come on, they have a mutation. And their mutation is 14. Nature kinship. They could talk to animals and plants. Okay, that may be true, but what anything that is 100. Hooves. All right, so we have a hooved nature kinship from the underground. And just as we hear the crowd of people from overhead, they went down that way. We are pulled behind a wall, and the wall closes. Okay. What's next is what always happens whenever you're grievously injured. There's a series of moments where you see people looking down at you, yelling your name. You're in, you're out. You feel vaguely nauseous. You feel like you're sweating and you're scared, but you don't have energy to be scared, and your foot doesn't hurt, or maybe it does hurt, but it's a different kind of hurt. And you begin to fade a little bit, and then you have an image in your head. You know what? Use my little Norse mythology cards here. These cards are kind of funny. Okay. I wish I knew what I was. Well, it's a tree. That's very clear. I'm trying to see how to pronounce this. So it's a 6 of clubs. We can certainly use Vox Profunda for that. Okay, yew tree. Oh, Yggdrasil. How do you say that? Yggdrasil? Yggdrasil, like the world tree. Links between worlds. Astral travel. Okay, astral travel. Astral travel. So now the astral cults thing doesn't surprise me as much. I see a vision. Astral travel. I see the world tree right here. And it blooms and explodes before me. And I hear some words. I hear one word above all. H. Help. 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 Who is saying it? Who is saying this word? I mean, I don't know who they are, but what do they look like? What are they like? What is their manner? D100. 4. A big fat glutton. Okay. What the connection? So it's no, I don't want to make it silly. So we'll use that as an input, but not quite. I'm not thinking like Barney from The Simpsons. So 16, platonic love. Okay. Glutton, platonic love. Okay. Okay. So, okay. All right. Help. Help. And then I see there is a massive sort of demonic figure that is consuming this group of people, everything they have. It is glutting itself on all of their resources. And my God, is it even glutting itself on them? Help, friend, help, help, friend, help. Okay. And it's a maybe 19-year-old girl asking, help, please. You have to help, please, friend, help. And then fade out to black. There we go. So that is the first hour of play for Into the Odd, and we got to use some different tools. This is, I wanted to make a video that shows pretty pure how I play, because I think some people have a little bit of, they don't know what it looks like. And is this exactly how I play when I'm alone? No, because I do talk out loud, but usually it's like clipped sentences and stuff like that. But by the end of a session is a disaster. That's like how I play. Some people, everything should be in order, everything should be tight. But for me, it's got to be chaos, because like I have all these tools, I got to use them. I just feel like I need to use them, and I say, what about this one? This one has some like really good stuff for me. This one has some really interesting things. And I just do my rounds, for lack of a better term. So yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you've played Into the Odd. Let me know what you think about it as a solo system, and I hope you enjoyed that. And I hope that my outro is not that loud. Thank you to all of you. Hope you're joining the Discord. If you are in the SEAL Team Waffle Alpha, join the Discord.